Hi there, it's Dr. JOYLYN Sparkles and welcome to your Power Hour. This is your time to put what's on your mind on my mind, and we'll put our heads and hearts together and we will come up with a way to go from stuck to happy as fuck in as short amount of time as possible. Because you are like me and I know it, and I just want to go fast. Alright, it's just, I don't know, pull up your pants and whee! It's just more fun to go fast than really, really slow. Even though sometimes slow is what's absolutely necessary. Which brings me to today. Today, you actually get confessions from me about this self-love specialist, this happiness expert, the creatrix of the happiness clinic, who, yes, talks all the time till I'm blue in the face ad nauseum about happiness, the future forward focus, giving your subconscious somewhere else to go so you don't keep landing in the same old quote-unquote self-sabotage patterns. And my tenets of coaching, if you haven't read them, or I haven't spoken about them in a while, but they're on the website, and hey, if you've got nothing else to do, stop scrolling, go to my website, check out the tenets of coaching. It's there is nothing wrong with you. Nada. Not ever. Never was. There's nothing wrong with you. That's first and foremost. We're not going to fix you because you're not broken. It's just something isn't working anymore, okay? You got to slow down to speed up. That's actually part of the future forward focus, is you got to know where you want to go so you can actually go somewhere else than where you've been. And then no one else needs to change in order for you to be happy. Happiness is an inside job. Only takes one person. The power of one and changing your mind. And that's where a whole lot of that came from relationship coaching, because everybody wants to change their partner, right? Because when we're in survival beta brainwaves and scanning the environment for a threat, guess who's there? Your partner, your mom, your dad, your kid, your dog. And when you look in the mirror, it's you too, okay? But nobody else needs to change in order for you to be happy. And it's not even like you have to change because you're broken. All you got to do is change your mind and rewire it, recalibrate it, okay? And then the last tenet of personal coaching is that choice trumps all. That means that no matter what, you're creating. You're in creator mode at all times. It's just that when crap is showing up, it's because you've been creating crap. And that's what I did the last few weeks, okay? I talk about this stuff all the time. I'm an expert. I really am. But what that actually means is I fucked up a whole lot more than most people. So I've learned a whole lot more than a lot of people because I've been willing to be new and be bad at something and continue anyways. And then there are those times where you've made a great amount of progress and still life can just get you so far off center. Oh, see, I just did that. I just did that with my language. I put myself in victim mode, like that just happened. I got knocked off center. I totally, no, not totally. I abandoned my priorities. I didn't do all the things that I should have done. I wasn't perhaps working as hard as I would have liked. I slipped. I fell. I'm human. It happens. I did it. Oops, I did it again. I mean, you know that song. It's got to be in your head right now, right? Oops, I did it again. Except I played with my heart. I got lost in the game of life and did that same old thing, which I'm going to tell you. Here's what I do. Here's what a lot of us do. But I'm going to start saying I'm going to own this shit, okay? I fell into my old pattern of seeing a lot of things wrong. Here's what's been going on the last couple of months. We'll do it in little bits and pieces as it comes up. Had a lot of gut issues. Now, for those of you who have gut issues, I'm an naturopathic doctor. Hi. So if you're into holistic medicine at all, you know just about everybody got gut issues. Okay, leaky gut, gluten gut. I mean, there's just so many ways, shapes, and forms and possibilities for the dysbiosis to set in, for the gap junctions to spread apart and larger than normal proteins get into the bloodstream, creating a whole big, huge inflammatory cascade, an immune crisis. Oh, and don't forget that your gut actually produces like 80% of the serotonin in your body. So that's why it's the second brain. So if your mood is way off, probably in part because of digestion and not just like your thoughts, although they are working in tandem. Okay, so I had lots of gut issues. It just seems like nothing I could eat could I actually leave and feel good, you know? And the symptoms would be what they call relenting and remitting, but intermittent, but never quite a great solid pattern to where I could be like, it's this food, it's this time of day, it's this combination. It was just sort of all over the place and really frustrating, mildly painful, but at least enough to just be constantly aware of it. And then, oh yeah, throw in that my sleep has been all over the place. And sometimes I'm way too hot, rarely, only in the middle of the night. And sometimes I'm way too cold, so then I'm looking up Chinese medicine and seeing I'm immune deficient and like imbalance everywhere. So what do? The exact opposite of what I tell you guys. I went into fucking fixing mode. I've gotta fix this. I am broken. The body is broken. It ain't listening to me. So I was mad at it and I just flooded it with a fuck ton of information. Now, some of this isn't necessarily bad because some of it's just gonna, when you shift into scientist brain, you have to figure out what is actually going on. And so sometimes you gotta take out some foods to see, is it this, is it that? But I was doing everything at once so that even if anything was working, I didn't know what it was because it was just like the kitchen sink approach. And this is where, yay, I'm a nerd and I like to be my own guinea pig, but I was like, way like eyeball deep into supplements. Like there was like a handful of tablets and pills I was taking every time I ate anything. And just I went into human doing mode and fixing and focusing on the problem so that I just sort of stared at the symptoms. And here's where our creator mode doesn't, like when we don't know that it's working 100% of the time, I was appreciating my problems and symptoms. I was staring at them, petting them, giving them attention. Yeah, when you pay attention, you invest. And so I wasn't necessarily looking to feel, like I said, I wanted to feel better, but I was really watching to see if the symptoms were there. And so guess what? They kind of just stay because they can't go anywhere because I'm so in love with them. Yeah, it's a weird way of looking at it, but that's sort of what happens when we get so fixated on our problems, physical, emotional, whatever. So I did that. And in so doing, lost sight of my priorities. What was the outcome I actually wanted? I sort of had gone from, I want to feel better, not really having anything, even mildly structured about what better would be like. But I really knew I don't want to feel like this anymore. I hate this. That's where I was. I was just hating. And when you hate, as I know there's so much like you shouldn't hate. Hate is bad, okay? And it kind of is. It's mostly a distractor. But now I've started to, just like when my clients say, oh, it's hard, I said replace the word hard with habitual. That's all it is. And when you hate something, just say I'm in total resistance to this. And watch the awareness and humility, but perhaps surrender might come sooner too, because when I just become aware and honest with myself that I am just in total resistance to what is, meaning that in that moment I am the opposite of present, meaning that in that I know I'm in beta brainwave patterns, and so I'm only going to focus on the problems and try to, fight it, take a shit ton of supplements or flee from it and just pretend it's not there and then just go eat whatever I want and, deal with the pain later. Those forms of reactivity. That's what I was doing. That's what a lot of us do when we don't have our priorities set. We have no idea of where else we'd like to go. It's not enough to actually get us out of whatever we're in into something better because we don't even know what better would be. All we know is not this, and that's not enough to actually get us anywhere else. I totally did that. Okay. And then when I started to get aware of how truly resistant and cow-like and obstinate I had become, I refused to pivot because I didn't actually want to be wrong about this. I have pride, okay? I can't be all wrong. I'm a fucking coach. I talk about this all the time. I know my shit, right? Yeah, no, I was full of it, is what it really was. Because I just was really holding on to old patterns. And, because let's put in this mix, we've got gut issues. If only it were only physical. Perhaps you've seen the change in my background a couple of times. Yeah, I've moved across, 4 times in the last 2 months, across 3 states and 3 time zones. And one of those places landed me in my childhood home for a solid 3 weeks. Which was partly fun. It really was. And then some of it wasn't so much, because there were some really unpleasant awarenesses that, having grown and having some geographical, physical, and emotional space from it, that when I plopped right back into it, I could see things for what they were. And holy shit, how I even survived is amazing. How I've been so hard on myself is a little bit sad. That it continues is actually just fucking heartbreaking. And sometimes I just get angry about it because I don't want to be heartbroken. I just get angry about it. And again, oh yeah, that resistance thing. I hate this. I did that too. And then there's this JOYLYN pattern that's actually in my human design. So remember when I said there's nothing wrong with you? There's nothing wrong with me. This is actually how my human design is. But I have a tendency, to hold on to past hurt and hold on to things that aren't good for me, which means I held on to the grieving. I held on to the anger. I held on to the sadness in the morning for what was, what couldn't be. And I got caught up in the stress of, oh my God, moving is so stressful and I just can't blah, 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 okay? And having crossed time zones so many times, I have never been great at time zones. And even this morning, I missed another meeting because I had it written down in my time zone, but it was in Eastern time zone. Oops! Luckily, there's grace, forgiveness, and actually the things that I've missed are the things that were missable. Whew! Never missed a client appointment. Never missed anything that, I had to be at, okay? But it is to where I can just be like, oh my God, I'm a shit show, I'm a hot mess, and, reconfigure my identity into the chaos. And, I've put it on Facebook. I think it was Elvis that said it. When things go wrong, don't go with them. I did that. I went with them. I was going with them. I was just like, hey, you look like you're going fast, so I'll go with you because I like fast. Not my best choice, okay? And I wish I'd said I'd just done this once, but this was a period of about, the last 3 weeks. The gut issues had actually been going on for about a year. Being at home was the prior 3 weeks, but then all the awareness and the moving and the chaos, then I just refused to let anything go. And I kind of felt sorry for myself. Now, part of this is that when we are in these systems of tumultuous change, and when things they just will sometimes. They just will. So it's not like we can control it. That's what a lot of trauma brain wants to do, is go control it and meter it and say, I can only handle this and this and this and this. And then I tend to be a little bit less that way. I can get that way, but I tend to be a little bit less that way and just fly by the seat of my pants. But then I don't give myself any rest. I don't give myself a breather. I don't give myself permission to be tired. And when I do that, the feelings I just get resistant to, and I'll deal with them later when things calm down. But the calm is waiting for me to call it in. So I'm not being calm, so when's the calm supposed to come? Because I'm doing what I do, what most of us do, is I'm waiting for the outside to change, for the inside to change, and that shit doesn't work. But I did it. So, I forgot to tell you. I don't know if I ever told you guys. I'm looking at my notes here, and all the things that happen in this. I fly from my childhood home to the Pacific Coast to buy a car that literally blows up 5 miles from the dealership. I ask as many questions as I can, and then I take it off the lot, and there's literally smoke coming from the hood, and I have to pull off, and I'm like, what the hell? That was so very interesting. Now, the silver lining in that was I got to witness myself handle that beautifully. For real. It was one of those moments where, you remember the triumph gesture? I've talked about this maybe once or twice. Boom. I got to celebrate me because I was like, wow, this work is working. I'm actually the calm in the center of the storm. I was just in a car that literally had smoke coming from the hood, and I'm not telling myself how stupid I am, and I'm not yelling at anybody else, and I'm not even mad at the situation. I'm actually just calm. I asked my spirit guides, hey, show me I'm okay. I got an angel number on my phone, which call that woo-woo if you do, but it worked for me. I remained calm, and then I was actually able to negotiate into a different situation and go to where I needed to go to next and keep the plan, just a little bit off schedule, but, workable. So it does work. So there are those silver lining moments. We just have to acknowledge them when they came. But I don't know if I ever told you that, and I wanted to tell you that because it's not all bad. I didn't do it all bad, but I want to tell you the bad stuff because sometimes I think it is easy, especially on Facebook, and I know I can go into like lecture-y, theoretical teachery mode and talk about these as concepts. And so I want you to know that I'm doing this all the time. And sometimes I do it great, like in that situation, and sometimes I don't, like the last 2 weeks, at least, all right? But all this ended up happening, swirling, twirling, because you and me are here because we're badass, and we said, I'm tired of the old bullshit, I want better, I'm up-leveling my life, and if that is your directive and that is your intention, the universe says, aye, Captain, and it gets to work so that even though these circumstances look and often feel like absolute crap, it somehow ends up becoming a swan. You know that from, is that Bruce Almighty or Liar Liar? I don't know, it's one of those Jim Carrey ones, but a swan. And that's what life turned out, because it actually literally moved me from an unhealthy, very poorly matched roommate situation into a much better one. Geographically not close, so there was, that part of it that I totally got anchored into and bogged down by, and poor me. But overall, much better, and look at how happy I am. Yes, yay. Okay, so it works out that way. Making sure I'm getting it all, okay? So yay, it turned out. So that's one thing Florence Scovel Ocean says, the darkness before the dawn, but the dawn always comes, trust the dawn. But sometimes when we get knocked off balance, as I did, and focus on the hurt and focus on the past, because how many times have I told you trauma ain't the big deal? You are, your future is. But me, I was like, no, these circumstances are such a big deal. And in my conversations, I was kind of Debbie Downer. Oh, that's nice, but, oh yeah, that turned out well, but. And I kept sticking a but in my own face, okay? I kept putting a but in my future. Not a great move. Not pretty either, okay? I did get super exhausted because holding on to the past and resisting the present and future is exhausting. Focusing on the problem gets exhausting because then that's all you see is the problem, and it seems like it's never going to end, and that just gets demoralizing. It's exhausting. And if you have this sort of built-in perfectionistic mode to where rest kind of isn't an option, you become literally physically depleted, and then everything actually becomes harder, more challenging to overcome. Then do that thing, JOYLYN, that thing that you do so well that you know how to do. Get really fucking serious about it. Because didn't I talk about it, like 4 or 6 weeks ago? I'm bringing sexy back, meaning being playful and light about it, because that's when you're creative, and that's when you're attractive and you attract new possibilities, and that's when people are like, what's that thing you're doing that's awesome? But the thing that's opposite that is this serious, zero smile. Because do you know how, no smile, it's not that it's, not attractive, because some people can look pretty when they're not smiling, but it's really just that it's actually mildly threatening to the human brain, because you may, and depending on the other person, and with all of us with our insecurities running around and our small hurt children inside saying, whoa, I did something wrong, stay away from that person. And when that person's in the mirror, you got nowhere else to go. Holy shit, being serious, it's not very fun, not very inviting, even mildly threatening. And then guess what happens when you do that? You've got to go to coping skills. It's all you've got left. You're not using creativity. All you can do is cope. And let me guess, that's an ultra healthy alternative, right? Like chocolate? Super healthy. Saying fuck it, but not to the bad stuff, but to all the things that I know are helpful. So eat all the bad stuff. Or stay up extra late worrying and thinking about the problem. All good options, right? Let's overthink this. Let's think this out some more. Hey, let's have more conversations about it. Let's get extra serious. These are my coping mechanisms. Why? Because it's what I saw when I was little and I was just a sponge. That's what we're all doing. So there's no need to judge it as well, because that'll just stick it in place further. But just know that the more we do this, the heavier everything gets and the less likely we want to move physically, emotionally, mentally, so that it kind of just stays there. This is the shit pit that I'm talking about, okay? And so in this, it becomes heavy, it's serious, you're looking in the mirror, you're looking outside of yourself, and all you're seeing is threats. Guess what that does? Yeah, beta brainwaves. But, hi, I'm reactive as fuck, okay? Everything kind of sets me off. I don't have the patience I normally do. I don't have access to my creativity. All I can do is go back into my habit reactivity mode. So that all I can actually do is create more of this crap because I can't turn off my creative superpowers. Neither can you, because we're all that. So, is there any good news here, JOYLYN? Is there anything? Like, these confessions are awesome and I've done all of these things, so we're all just fucked, right? We're going to hell in a handbasket? I hate that shit. No! Here is not just the silver lining, the fucking good news with a golden horn. Like, think of like the Grinch coming down the hill. Hey, there's good news. You're here. I'm here. We've been doing this work. We're badass. We've actually done this before, meaning we've gotten out of it before too, so we can do it again. So that's actually what I did. It's like when you finally are like, oh wait, what's that around my ankles, my big girl panties? Why don't I pull those up? Okay, so I can also again acknowledge, like that time in the car dealership when I actually handled shit instead of falling to pieces, I realized that I've actually grown. And so even though I've been planted in this new place in a healthy relationship with more people that has more promise and possibilities and more smiles and sunshine than where I was, I didn't totally destroy it. I might have put a little damper on it and didn't appreciate it as much as I wanted to. Should have. Okay. But I can now. Because I didn't totally destroy it, which I might have done in my past. You know, that's what teenagers do. You know, we've all done that. Or the super rebellious 20-year-old, you know, just like, fuck this shit, you know. It's a phase, but guess what? Most of us have gotten past it, at least in some arena of our life. So let's start appreciating it and saying, hey, there's still something to work with here. Let me find what works, work it. The situation becomes more workable. Awesome. Okay, I did that. Okay, so here's a couple of things that I did do also that were well. I didn't judge myself as much. I did some. Of course I did. It's probably something I'm going to be working with until the day I die. Okay, we're human. And I could see where I do, in general, operate that me, you, we're all doing our best, but then it was kind of like, ooh, my best, I'd like to amp that up a little bit, okay? So instead of going into judgment of, I didn't do my best, I should have done better, I was like, I bet that was my best in that moment. I'd like to raise that bar. I'd like to raise the floor on that so that my best actually is even better than that, okay? And then I acknowledge that even if I did react, it wasn't to the level or extent that it had been. And when I'm dealing with physical stuff, to still realize, and not in a comparative mode, it's really with you do it in love or out of love, but to still recognize I can breathe with ease, I can move with ease, I can still recognize that I have the presence of mind to make new choices. Like, I still have a lot of faculties at my disposal, even if I don't feel good, even if they're not at tip-top optimal. I can still do these things with relative ease, okay? And independently. I'm still not dependent on anybody, so yay, that's awesome, okay? But there's an ability to be gratitude somewhere. Just start with the simplest things. And sometimes I do get resistant to gratitude, but really, as soon as we get to, and sometimes it is just the bare bones, look, I have my teeth in my head. I can still chew. Because that actually isn't true for some people. And again, I don't want to go into comparative mode, but there are things that we do take for granted that actually are working for us. And if we start to appreciate them, then more things start to come because our brain chemistry will start to change, okay? So, got some of that going for me. But then how do you really kind of like shift gears and get out of this shit? The number one thing, this is what a lot of what we work for, it's the future forward focus. You have to have somewhere else to go. But then the work is really getting out of these patterns and out of reactivity, out of judgment, out of any of the shoulds, and focusing on the past and focusing on fixing the problem and concluding that everything's fucked, assuming that everybody hates you or that you're unforgivable or unworthy. Like, it's starting to tease those kind of bullshit beliefs out of this and to stop reacting. Because here's the thing, it looks like a backslide. Perhaps that's what it is, but most often, if we actually look for it and ask for the truth about it, it feels like we're in the exact same place, but we're actually next level. And it isn't necessarily that it's a backslide, it's just a repetition. It's another opportunity to show up in the way that we said we wanted to. It's just when we lose priorities, we really get stuck there for a while. But it's just another opportunity to say, here's next level. And then also that even if it were a backslide, well, and the backslide too, we always like you've tumbled and you have to start over. But the more and more that we change that metaphor to a dance, all dances have forward, backward, and sideways steps. And they're beautiful, and they're playful, and they're fun. It's actually the only form of exercise that is shown to reduce aging. So if we start looking at life and even all of these situations as dances instead of being on point, off point, on balance, off balance, moving ahead, backsliding, on the wagon or off the wagon, instead of like this black and white sort of thing, if we start looking at it like a dance and more fluid, it actually becomes more workable just doing that alone. But then also, even if it were a backslide, like for real, a quantum leap is also equally available as soon as we recognize that it is. And there is no waste in the universe. And if we start saying, okay, hey, dude, I went back a couple, but I really want to be here, so I need a quantum leap. Universe, show me how I can quantum leap this bullshit. Ways will start to present themselves, okay? And the less demanding and impatient and arrogant, demanding assholes that we are about, and it has to be now in this way, then we can actually receive it from more places and it'll actually come faster. You know, they talk about watching paint dry or watching the grass grow. Like when we stop looking to see if things are going the way that we think that we should and start actually just being like, what can I do in the meantime? Read a book, have fun, have sex, whatever, like do something else. Then it starts to come together faster, okay? So that's number one. Get out of the reaction, get out of the judgment, the criticism, the demanding. All right, that's it. Then you pivot and you choose something else. You've got to get your focus back on your future and start looking at what is working or what is workable instead of what's not working and fixing. So you can't force this, really, unfortunately. Like, you can take conscious control of it, but you can't force it. If there's an emotion that actually has a message for you, it's not going to go away until you actually allow it to show up and listen to it. You don't have to wallow in it, but you are going to have to feel it and learn how to handle it, process, metabolize it. So that's where bypassing doesn't actually sustainably work. You can't bypass things. If there is a past thing, because things do have to go from subconscious to conscious, and that's a lot of times where we react to it and then kind of push it back down, so that when it comes up, if we can start to go into observation mode instead of judgment reactivity mode, it can move out of our system. So that's sort of one of the ways to do something different. Then if there is something that's fatiguing, exhausting, like even physically demanding, can kind of put us off balance, then, or just a typical pattern, like once we get an awareness that there's a need that needs to be met, meet the need. get the rest, get the hydration, get the hug, get the smile in the mirror. Like, once you are aware of a need, meet it. And there's so much more that you're available to do instead of like standing there tapping your toe waiting for the universe to give you somebody else to give it to you. Okay, there's a lot we can do for ourselves, including sometimes requesting, can I have a hug? Okay, so once you see the need, meet it. Then you've got to actually choose. It's going to take doing it more than once. I so wish I could change this for all of us, but this is how to recalibrate a nervous system, because we are spiritual beings, infinite, and things can happen once and for all, like they really can. But when we're in this physical, magical, do put in magical meat suit, there is a nervous system that we have to work with and recalibrate. And so that, like with every trauma thing that they're talking about, every trauma therapy modality, it takes repeated exposure. Anybody who's developed a skill, 10,000 hours of practice, it takes repetition. So for us to think that I should do it once and get it is a little bit dumb. Okay, so knowing that it's going to take these repeated things, so that even the backslide that we were saying is a backslide, and it was actually just another rep. And nothing's lost, because as soon as you look back, you get awareness of what it was. You get to integrate that and use it into your future. Okay. So one of the ways of pivoting is just changing your perspective, broadening it so that it's not that this is a once and for all, or this is the end all be all. It's actually, this is part of the whole program and me asking for a better, greater life. Okay. Then you do got to slow down to speed up. Know where you want to go, what it is you'd like to have instead, more of, not less of, and how do I avoid this? Get clear on your priorities and simplify them. Try to get it down to 1 to 3, sort of peace, calm. Because if you have just a smattering of them all over and you want it all again at once, it's harder to remember when you're in charge situations. Simplifying it will actually make it more attainable or available in those charged moments. And it's always available to change, because it is going to evolve to where you're going to get good at stuff. You're building skills. You're going to get good so that you don't have to continue to practice the same fucking thing. You can move on to a more advanced or different skill, energy that you'd like to embody and call into your life. But you have to know what they are, okay? Knowing, how do I want to show up? How do I want to show up? And what are my priorities? That's the slow down to speed up. That's the future forward focus part, and a great place to start, okay? Then do what works and feels good, meaning give space in between these eyebrows, space between your ears and your shoulders, a little bit of a upward movement to the corners of your mouth. Makes you kind of want to do a shimmy. Makes you want to not give a fuck, like in a real authentic way of like, this isn't that important. Why am I getting bogged down about that? That's the stuff you do more of. The stuff that brings your eyebrows together. Makes you, and somebody tells you something and you're just like, let me put a pin in that. Let me poke a hole in that. That is not the stuff to focus on, okay? Your body is telling you, no good. Much better, okay? Listen to your body. It's going to tell you. And we have to start practicing setting down the bad, holding on to the good and picking it up, okay? Set down, like I feel like the guy on Happy Gilmore, like what is it? Harness good, block bad. Now it's not to block it, but it's set it down. Pick up the good stuff. Set down the bad stuff. Pick up the good stuff. Just keep doing that, okay? Your body's going to tell you when it feels really heavy, crappy, serious, it's not the whole of it. It's not the truth. So set it down. Practice the pivot. Don't get caught in it, okay? Things you can do to help this. Check out your content. I did, I know I'm going over, so thanks for sticking with me. 3 keys to loving yourself. Watch your content. Literally consciously change it. Watch more stand-up. Watch happier movies. Turn off the news. Go into books that are more imaginative, inspiring, happier. And especially sometimes in acute phases, like when you're really down, you don't always have to keep digging. Sometimes you do just need something that will lighten things up a bit. Then move. Your mind will follow your body. If you actually move your body, your thoughts and your feelings will change because your respiration and your heart rate's going to change. They're all connected. Get some movement. If you're over moving and over exhausting, get some rest. That's where it can be a little bit confusing because which do you do? Listen to your body. It's going to tell you. Eat lighter. Don't eat the heavy, dense food. Those are the comfort foods, but what they do tend to do is keep you there. So go for a little bit lighter fare. More water for sure, deeper breaths, but then more colors. Leafy greens, you know. I highly recommend slightly cooking them because raw can be a little bit hard. That's not something we're going to talk about right now. But generally, more colors, not just Skittles and candies, okay? But like the actual vegetables and fruits, okay? Eat things that don't weigh you down when you're feeling down. Go outside. Breathe fresh air. Look up at the sky and feel the sunshine and wind on your skin, okay? That is actually going to do more for you than words can say. It really will, but you actually have to get your butt off the chair or out of your bed and go there, okay? And not just to get into the vehicle to move you to work. Use the in-between to actually appreciate the outdoors if that's the only time you have, because sometimes it is, all right? Go outside. Nature loves you, and it will give you endlessly, instantaneously, all right? Give a compliment. It will have to go through you to come from you. So if you give a compliment, you actually get to feel those warm and fuzzies all the way out. And don't forget that you can look at you in the mirror and also give you a compliment. Look at your own shoes and be like, oh, what cute shoes. I have such good taste. Okay. You can give yourself compliments. Also give other people compliments because happiness begets happiness. All right. And then perspective. Take a step back. Everything might feel like it's closing in and it's serious right now, but that's because you're looking at this moment as eternity. I'm saying you, and I'm talking to me because I'm literally talking to me right now. Take a step back. This is just a piece of a bigger whole. This too will pass, and the dust will settle. The dots will connect. Sometimes I wait so long to make a move because I'm demanding. I become that demanding asshole and I want things to make sense. I want to know why they're going the way that they are. But that information is only available after it's actually had more time to elapse. When there is that space that I can actually be like, oh, that's why. But if I'm doing it in the moment, I'm just doing that trauma head game and trying to be that metaphysical asshole who's like, oh, I know the whole everything. No. The universe is way, way, way much bigger than us and more creative than we can fathom. We're totally part of it, but it comes up with shit that we could never actually come up with here, not even in the moment. Sometimes you'll get hits and you'll be like, I bet this is it. And if it makes your shoulders drop and your eyebrows and a deeper breath and a smile come on, then trust it. That's what's happening. You don't have to question it so much. Let it be, okay? Just give yourself some space. Then do it more than once. Lather, rinse, and repeat. This is all going to have to be happening. You're going to have to do this. This is what we're doing. This is the dance we're in. This is the game of life and the magical meat suit that we're working with. So this is what we're going to be working with and doing and playing until the day we say, tap it out, universe. Calgon, take me away. Okay? So just know that if you're doing it more than once and oh my God, I'm here again, you didn't do anything wrong. You're just living. This is what it is. This is recalibrating the nervous system because guess what? Sometimes when you get to the place that you wanted to, you're human and you desire more, so you got to do it again so you can have even more, okay? This is continuous improvement. It doesn't always feel like it, but that's where feelings aren't facts. This is always what's happening. So this is my lived experience, and hopefully you have gotten a little bit from that, seen yourself in this, and know that you're not alone, that you're not doing anything wrong, that none of this is proof that you're wrong. And it's really, everything's actually available to continue to work out for you. And it can be faster and easier the sooner that we actually decide, oh yeah, I'm a creator and I've been creating crap, so I don't like it, so I'm going to create something else. What's that something else I want to create? And then you lather, rinse, and repeat, let go of the stuff that's in the way, and start having fun with the process, okay? That is what I got for you, and this is what I'm inviting you to with any and every Happiness Clinic program, the Future focus, where we're going to slow down to speed up, coaching with me, where I am so fundamentally, absolutely 100% certain there's nothing wrong with you. There's not a thing you could say or do to convince me otherwise. And that's who's going to be coaching you, so that all of these things we can have some perspective with, get and keep out of fixing mode, to where it can actually all be about manifesting, expressing your heart's desire instead of fixing something, because there's nothing to fix, okay? This is way more fun. It's totally possible. When you kind of fall back into old patterns, it's not that big of a deal. It really isn't. We've all done it. Guess what? We're going to do it again. I wish that wasn't true, but it probably is going to be. But the spaces in between will get longer. The depths to which we fall will become shallower, so that we're always moving up. Rising like bubbles, okay? That's what I say. And that's what I want to leave you with. That's what I want to invite you to. So go to IHaveManyThings.com, check out the services. Let's talk about getting in a program. You can either, comment, post, DM me on Facebook, because I'll answer to that, or schedule a call for clarity if you actually just want a straight on book, okay? And we'll talk, make sure we're a match, and start transforming our lives in the world, okay? That is it. I love you. I hope you enjoy this power hour. And next week I'll be off, because I will be soaking up the sun in the Dominican Republic. But if you are on the mailing list, you're going to get emailed a special edition of Power Hour, so that you don't miss a week. So get on that list. I'll put a link here in the post. And I'll see you in 2 weeks, live again. All right. I love you much. Have a great day. Mwah.